Hello there. Later on this evening, MPs in the House of Commons will be voting on the UK Internal Market Bill that has so many Remainers throwing toys out of prams. Firstly, please subscribe and like this video to give my channel a boost. And I'm always uploading new content, so please do check back daily, and a big thanks to my Patreon and PayPal supporters. The pro-EU MPs will be lining up over the course of this afternoon and evening to try and salvage their route back into the EU, the Withdrawal Agreement Treaty and the powers it gives the EU over the UK. Those Remainer and Rejoiner MPs will be arguing that UK MPs cannot possibly vote for the horrible clauses in the UK Internal Market Bill that, they say, breaks international law. Rather we go down in flames and destroy the UK than pass the bill with those clauses in, they claim. Among them expect to see Theresa May, the architect of much that is wrong with the withdrawal agreement, arguing against and even possibly voting against Boris Johnson and his Tory government on this bill. Last week, the former Tory Prime Minister said, "I consider that by introducing clauses 41 to 45, the government is acting recklessly and irresponsibly with no thought for the long-term impact on the standing of the United Kingdom in the world. This will lead to untold damage to the United Kingdom's reputation. It puts the future of the United Kingdom at risk. As a result, with regret, I have to tell the Minister I cannot support this bill." But she'd presumably be happy for the UK to be broken up against the EU rocks. On this, Times Radio chief political commentator Tom Newton-Dunn said in a tweet, "Theresa May still intends to vote against the Internal Market Bill when it returns to the Commons tonight, I'm told. The first ex-Prime Minister in living memory to break a three-line government whip. But through the bill will go, clauses 41 to 45 included. The only concession made will be that the House of Commons will have a vote on government exercising those powers to limit the reach of the withdrawal agreement before they are used rather than afterwards. And for those who claim that the UK tough stance on this would not work, we now hear that the EU has agreed to start working on a joint legal text for an agreement. Something they were adamant would never happen until the level playing field and fisheries were sorted out to their entire satisfaction. Well, neither of those things has happened, but Brussels seems to have concluded that detailed work needs to start now if a deal is to be done. All good news, except that the UK is expected to get into detailed discussions on the subjects of, yes, you've got it, fisheries, state aid and level playing fields. And on those issues, the EU is still looking to carve itself out quite a considerable chunk of control. Control that Eurocrats thought they could exercise by stretching the withdrawal agreement as far as they could, with Mrs May's blessing. And as I said yesterday, all this needs to be agreed before going into the tunnel, which is the final stage of the talks. And one hopes that if the EU still tries to foist its UK breaking requirements on us, that the UK negotiators will refuse to enter the tunnel and walk away from the table. And if they do, this would not be the first trade deal the EU has lost this week. It turns out that the huge EU Mercosur trade deal brokered earlier this year is dying in a ditch somewhere in the Republic of Ireland. Here's what the former president of the EU Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, said in 2019 on reaching a political agreement with Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay and Uruguay. "I measure my words carefully when I say that this is a historic moment. In the midst of international trade tensions, we are sending today a strong signal with our Mercosur partners that we stand for rules-based trade. Through this trade pact, Mercosur countries have decided to open up their markets to the EU. This is obviously great news for companies, workers and the economy on both sides of the Atlantic, saving over €4 billion worth of duties per year. This makes it the largest trade agreement the EU has ever concluded. Thanks to the hard and patient work of our negotiators, this is matched with positive outcomes for the environment and consumers. And that's what makes this agreement a win-win deal. Sounds marvellous, doesn't it? Well, it turns out that some of the EU member states weren't so happy with it, including France, the Netherlands and the Republic of Ireland. All because rainforests are reportedly being cut down to allow beef farming on a grand scale that could flood the EU with cheap meat if the deal goes through. Now, the EU Trade Commissioner at the time who pushed this deal through was the Irishman Phil Hogan, who was recently forced to resign over breaching COVID regulations. And he took a lot of flack in his home country because of this Mercosur deal that threatened the livelihoods of Irish beef farmers. But as an EU Commissioner, Hogan would have been acting in the interests of the European Union, not Ireland. He did, after all, swear the EU Commissioner's oath to do just that. Here's what one Irish farm group, the Individual Farmers of Ireland, said about this deal. This would put every beef farmer in Ireland out of business. It is now clear that South American beef producers are clearing rainforests to increase their beef production, while Green Party leader Eamon Ryan wants Irish farmers to cut our national herd and reduce our beef production. Last week, the German Agriculture Minister has announced that she is not pushing ahead with the Mercosur trade deal, a deal that was being pushed through by our own Commissioner, Phil Hogan. But I'll point out again, EU Commissioners always work in the interests of the wider European Union, not the country that appoints them. And the Irish Independent reports that, in a boost for beef farmers, the Tánaiste Leo Varadkar has indicated that he will not be bringing the Mercosur trade agreement for ratification to the Dáil this year or for the foreseeable future. The deal brokered last year between the EU and a host of South American countries, including Brazil and Argentina, would have allowed an additional 99,000 tonnes of beef to be imported into the EU levy-free. Farm organisations argued to allow the proposed volume of beef onto the EU market would have a severe impact on Irish and European farmers, who are already struggling from the impact of Brexit and falling consumption levels. And if the Irish Parliament doesn't vote for it, then Ireland won't sign up to it in the EU Council. So it just sits there, unused, with no deal, because EU trade deals require a unanimous vote in the EU Council. I would admit that the Mercosur deal itself was already very stagnant, but Ireland may have just dealt it the coup de grace. But it might leave a door open for the UK to have a natter with those South American countries in the coming months. Anyway, the most important thing today is that the UK Internal Market Bill sails through the Commons, so sending a strong message to Brussels. It will then be handed over to the overwhelmingly pro-EU House of Lords, where we might see some interesting battles. But they would be silly to push it too far, as the red benches are under the spotlight for massive reforms. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it by following the link in the descriptions box below and support me on Patreon or PayPal. So what do you think about all of this? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.